Oh, Jesus Christ! Rathalos, fine! We will do your fucking lore! Look, I've been a little bit nervous about doing Rathalos' video. Not because he's especially complicated, sorry Rathalos, but because of how, well, legendary he is. His wings are the wings upon which this game is built. Every title has its flagship, but Monster Hunter itself is helmed by Rathalos. He is the Wyvern. He means so much to us, especially who arrived in the First Fleet, and he inspires to the point where some awkward, talentless individual might use their musical ability, which is no greater than that of a howler monkey, to make, I don't know, like a rap song dedicated about him for some reason. Lit up, glowing, glittering bright like the moon in the night, shimmering, ready to bring the G-rank power that'll make you be all like, gee, thank you guys when all your team dies. He's the king of the skies, incandescent. This lesson will leave you bent and broke, talon dive, poison pride. Look, we all have moments, guys. We all have moments. So, Rathalos. He is the fire wyvern, but that kind of doesn't do him justice, does it? It feels kind of weird even starting to describe him, because it's fucking Rathalos. If there is one monster that you all can picture crystal clear on his journey from this to goddamn this, it is Rathalos, right? His deep crimson color, the black highlights, his patterned wings, more complex and beautiful they are, the more chance of attracting a mate, which in his case is Green Rathalos, or Rathian. I really just thought it was Green Rathalos when I was a kid. He spends much of his time hunting, patrolling the skies of his territory many miles across, looking for an unwary victim to swoop down, sink talons deep, and eviscerate with cruel efficiency before carrying the carcass back to the nest high atop where most can reach, to be devoured in safety and to be fed to both the misses and any baby Rathalos/Rathians that are being reared. He has an arsenal of weaponry on top of his just sheer intimidating visage. The spikes, the angular sort of side handles on his head, which don't serve any kind of real function other than, oh, look at me! The same can almost be said for the serrated daggers lining his wings, but they are very much to help defend himself while both on air and ground against anything that might attempt to grapple him. It is not uncommon for foes to puncture their own flesh while locked in grisly melee with this creature, his tail thick, muscled, and strong, and bristling with a just, well, quite savage array of flesh plungers, let's call them. 4 darkened left and right, and 1 much larger than the rest, straight out. He can use his tail rather dexterously, for he is actually quite cunning, quite intelligent. Rathalos is one of the thinkier non-elder dragons. He can very much whip it round and inject it into an opponent, causing huge blood loss, as well as thrashing sideways and back in a 360-degree arc, slamming the club-like tail into everything round him. And really, that 2-part sweep is, well, probably the most iconically famous flying wyvern move out of them all. And then, of course, we have the rest of his ground-based assault, which is mostly kind of running at you and using strength and weight to crush and break. A lot of the time, his legs aren't the most secure, and he can go sprawling, and generally, he wants to be in the air. He likes to be in the air, which, you know, we don't like. He does. It's mainly a disagreement between him and hunters, where, like, and he's like, And that's okay. That's absolutely fine, you know. He's doing what he does best. He's not the king of the fucking ground, is he? So, the skies then are where it is at. He is the king of the skies. And really, truly, he bears that title well. A Rathalos can only be defeated in the air by a measly short list consisting of Fatalis, Crimson Fatalis, Chameleos, Kushala Daora, Rusted Kushala Daora, Lunastra, Teostra, White Fatalis, Yamasukami, Amatsu, Shagaru Magala, Chaotic Gore Magala, Seregios, Astalos, Bolt Reaver, Astalos, Nightcloak, Malfestio, Valstrax, Basil Geas. Which really, you know, okay, admittedly, let's take away the Elder Dragons. That's not fair. And let's take away subspecies and deviants, because otherwise, you know, you can throw in the Dreadking, you can throw in the Silver, and they will mess your day up! Silver is very much Elder Dragon level, but we'll get to Silver later on. And then we're only really left with Seregios and Astalos, both of which can definitely fight a Rathalos while up aloft, but both of them are disadvantaged. 60-40, I'd say, in his direction. So yeah, in the reasonable sense, King of the Skies is true. He has a perfect balance of both speed, strength, and agility, and combining that together, he can brute force, outmaneuver, or outright just shred through anything that could be near him. His flames are fierce, a flame sack powering them, and it is a veritable furnace, from launched projectiles of molten death to great bursts of flames scorching the ground and leaving patches of crimson blaze. He really does have quite the inferno at his command. But if that wasn't enough, his legs, at least when used as, you know, gripping appendages, lock like iron clasps against anything that is unlucky enough to be caught in them, slamming down from the sky using his full force, shattering bone, tearing into shell and rock alike, and then delivering a potent caustic mix of venom produced in a little gland connected to his claws. This is quite the combination. If he cannot stab you with tail spikes, bite your head off, or simply batter you into submission, and if he cannot burn you alive, blow you away with explosive power, or completely roast you while you scream, then he can grab you and make you die a slow, agonizing death of poison. It really is, if it's not one thing, it's another, and that's why he is such a feared and expert hunter, on top of developing strategies that he remembers and passes on to his young on how to establish dominance over other given species. The way he dismantles an Anjanath so perfectly was likely taught to him by the Rathalos that sired him, and so on and so forth. They really are quite clever creatures, and they stalk prey for hours, eyeing them with their expert vision, marking targets from hundreds upon hundreds of meters away, and then once locked, they will monitor their movements, waiting for the perfect time to swoop in for the kill. A Rathalos that has seen you, well, is likely the last creature that ever will. His roar is one that we could all recognize in any given situation. And it is one of the most intimidating roars, at least, you know, nature-wise, that there are, because all have learnt to fear that the king might pay them a royal visit. In fact, the only creature that really likes to hear it is the Rathians, as it communicates on subtle levels the mood of the Rathalos. It can also call for aid, and they will fight fiercely to protect each other. A Rathalos and a Rathian will bond for life. That is, unless she's too busy with a cut coup. Ha! And look, it is at this point I want to address that I obviously can't put Rathian specifically in this, And I also can't really give Rathian her own video, because she is just Rathalos, but green and female. And really, they're too interconnected to not just mention her where she's applicable. So, Rathalos, then, can live in many different environments. The typical foresty plains, where they love to, well, decimate local Aptonoth populations. They fare fine too in hotter climes, though they can end up twirling with? I wanted to go with tangling, and now it's twirling. And really, I'm going to commit to that, because the idea of a Rathalos bumping into, like, a Stygian Zinogre in the volcano, and, you know, instead of doing a glorious battle to the death, they just kind of look at each other like this.
Don't come up in my kitchen with that weak-ass shit. You gotta shake your ass.
But obviously Rathalos is supreme in the air. Once he lands, there are a veritable arsenal of monsters that can give him quite the problem. From Brachydios to Gomagala, Tigrex, Agnactor, of course Rajang. Really, it's not a great time for all the Rathi on the ground. Ian does not play well with dirt beneath his toes. But he isn't exactly easy pickings, and any that have tangled with a Rathalos, even victorious, have the scars to prove it. But as I said, he's not an idiot, and he will go out of his way to avoid confrontation with monsters that he knows full well could give him trouble. He is so well suited to survival. And outside of that, he is just, well, as you see him. He lives, survives, breeds, dies, and so the cycle continues. Nothing crazy about him, nothing complex, nothing that's going to make you go, huh, I didn't know that. But he is just an all-round killing machine, perfectly honed to continue on. He is one of the most well-rounded, well-thought-out, well-crafted, well-brought to life monsters, full stop. And that makes sense, because really he does carry the hope of this entire world that we love with him, whether you like him or not. And I do. I adore him. I've gone from kind of finding him irritating at first, to appreciating him, to finding him now as a fodder-free kill, but still always enjoy going to hunt a Rathalos, because it just is Rathalos. Now, technically speaking, there are differences between the Rathalos that you find in, well, the New World and the Old. The New World ones are a lot calmer, a lot less likely to be provoked, more used to just having things their own way, and less wary of hunters. Also known as, now monsters don't instantly attack you as like a mechanical level, but that's how it is explained lore-wise, and that's kind of nice to see that between parts of the world there are behavioral differences as each family of Raths learns to handle the way that they live in their own little unique way, kind of like Orca do in our, real planet that we're on, lame as that is. Haha! So, to all the other Raths then, Azure. And, well, Pink Rathian too, these are simply a mutation at birth that can just, well, happen. You have a clutch of little baby Rathalos Rathian eggs, maybe 1 in 20 are pink or azure. They grow up stronger, faster, they're a little bit more aggressive, they're a little bit more lone wolf-esque types, a little bit edgy, hanging away from the brothers and sisters, thinking they're too cool for this world, until they take off and, in case of Azure Rathalos, never land again! And they can deal with much harsher environments. Their shell is significantly stronger, especially to the elements. It's not just a palette swap, but even more than that, and even more beautiful, we get the Silver Rathalos. As I said earlier, Elder Dragon level. Impossibly rare. It's just simply Rathalos turned up to 11. Its scales are harder, they are tougher, they are thicker, yet it is able to move quicker, it is able to kill slicker, and generally it is all round bigger of a threat to anyone nearby. Though, strangely, it does gain a weakness to electricity, which is kind of indicative of really actual metal property being found within it, at least according to the guild. His flame sack is, well, more a flame, suitcase? Because he go big boom everywhere, essentially. Almost limitless stamina, flying power beyond what should be possible. The cause of the silver and gold transformation is unknown. The leading theory is that, like pink and blue, it's still a birth defect, but unbelievably less common. 1 in 1,000 comes out shimmering like the moon or the sun. The moon! Everyone knows they are valuable. Everyone knows they want their parts. Everyone knows they are obscenely strong. But how they come to be? Your guess is as good as mine. Then the Dread King and the Dread Queen. His fire is said to be able to burn all life that it touches, leaving the land around him scorched like a wildfire. Whether the Dread King or Silver is the more powerful of the two in your book, well, that is up to you. I personally think the Silver has it won lore-wise, and the Dread King, well, with what you see him do in-game, because it is quite impressive. Colossal fireballs in scope, wreathing the land, his wings absolutely just magnificent, large and coated in this glorious design. He really is, well, Rathalos, King of the Skies, given a good old 2 years time skip to train really hard and add dread to the start of his name. And that is kinda real neat to me. He just does everything a normal Rathalos does, but to the absolute extreme. He looks badass. He has a resistance to flash bombs, because of course he does, and the strength to put the other Raths to shame. He is much more, well, devious, and he really knows his way around a battlefield. Definitely able to compete with many Elder Dragons himself. He is something to truly be feared. They are said to be the kings of kings. Even amongst the rulers of the sky, they stand atop. Giant, wings as black as the scorched bones of their prey. Mere humans are not worthy of its attention. But to all intruders in its domain, prepare for its fiery wrath. And that is real awesome. How Dread King and Dread Queen come to be? Again, it's one of those, they just kinda did. But I do like to go with training montage theory. It almost makes sense to me. It's the Rathalos that broke his limiter.
Soka.
But I admit, it does bug me when something isn't explained. It does bug me when I have but only theories to go on, and there's no clear mutation, no clear physical change, no clear environmental change, no clear anything that would induce such a drastic alteration in, well, everything that he is. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the matter. So there you have it, guys. There's a lot to say about Rathalos and all of his forms, and I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about them, and I realize you probably knew a lot of this, but I still think he more than deserves to get his moment in the spotlight, and really, then some. Rathalos, thank you. No point me even entertaining the notion of how he will be in future games, because he always will be. A Monster Hunter without Rathalos is quite simply not a Monster Hunter. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Will we get a new Rathalos type in Iceborne? That could be kind of neat, right? I mean, as much as I'd love just wholly new monsters, we have to get some new subspecies. I kind of want that, but would an icy Rathalos sit well with me? Kind of goes against what he is, but ooh. Either way, my name has been Josh. A goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.